The storm outside was already beating hard against the old mansion when Maya froze by the office door. She had been walking past with a tray when Jacob's voice carried through the crack, low and sharp, the kind of tone people use when they think no one is listening. She heard him say the words that made her blood turn cold, yes. Tonight. She's tired. No family left. It will look natural. Her heart slammed against her ribs. He was talking about Margaret, the woman upstairs, the boss she worked for every day. Maya's first thought was to run, but her feet took her to the office instead. Margaret was inside, still sitting behind her heavy desk, flipping through papers while the storm rattled the shutters. Maya burst in, breathless, her hand raised as if to push back the danger itself. "Don't talk, ma'am," she whispered fiercely, pressing her palm to her employer's lips just as the door handle turned outside. For a moment, time froze. Margaret jerked back in shock, eyes wide with insult. She slapped Maya's arm away with the force of someone used to being obeyed. "What are you doing? How dare you touch me?" Her voice was low but cut like glass. Maya winced, but she didn't back down. "Please," she begged, voice tight, "if you had spoken, he would have walked in. He would have found us here." Her bitten words trembled, but the fear in her eyes was real. Margaret pushed her chair back, offended more than afraid. "You don't put your hands on me. Ever. You've lost your mind." Her tone carried the weight of power, the sound of a woman who had dismissed hundreds with a single look. But Maya shook her head, desperate now. "No, ma'am. Listen to me. I heard him. Your husband. He's planning to kill you tonight. He said it will look natural, that you're tired, that nobody will question it." For a second, Margaret simply stared, lips parted in disbelief. Then her face hardened. "How dare you," she hissed, rising to her feet. "You think you can come into my home, touch me, and then spin some jealous story? Is that what this is? Envy? You hate what I have, so you want to poison me against my husband?" Her words sliced through the air like the thunder outside. "You're a maid, Maya. Nothing more. You don't know the first thing about my marriage." Maya's throat tightened. She could feel the sting of tears, but she forced herself to hold steady. "I wouldn't lie about this. Not about something like this. I swear, I heard him. Tonight. Please, you are in danger." Margaret folded her arms, fury and pride lifting her chin. "The only danger in this house is you, Maya Williams. If you keep this up, you'll be dismissed before morning." Outside, lightning flashed, throwing their faces into sharp relief, the maid with her bleeding hand trembling at her side, the boss with her silk blouse and steely glare. Between them stretched the storm of mistrust, each clap of thunder shaking the walls, each word pulling them further apart. The dog barked downstairs, sharp and urgent, as if it too could sense what the woman upstairs refused to believe. But Margaret only pressed a handkerchief to her lips, her eyes narrowing at Maya like she was the intruder, not the protector. And so the warning hung in the air, ignored and rejected, even as the storm outside grew louder, pressing against the mansion like a second heartbeat. The storm grew heavier, rain beating against the shutters like fists. Inside the office, the silence was broken only by Margaret's sharp breaths and Maya's trembling voice. The golden retriever, Buddy, barked from the stairwell below, short, frantic bursts that made both women flinch. The dog had never sounded like this before. Margaret turned toward the sound, her brows pulling together, but instead of admitting fear, she scoffed. "He's restless because of the storm. That's all." Her words tried to sound firm, but her voice shook at the edges. Maya stepped closer, clutching her bitten hand against her apron. "No, ma'am. He knows. Dogs feel danger before we do. Please, listen to him if you won't listen to me." Margaret spun on her, her face sharp with disbelief. "Enough. My husband has been nothing but devoted. Do you know how long he has stood by me? Do you know what we've built together?" Her words rose like thunder, pride louder than reason. Maya's eyes glistened, but she refused to back down. I don't know everything about your marriage, but I know what I heard. I know the sound of a man planning something terrible. He said you were exhausted. That no one would question it. He meant tonight. Lightning flashed, filling the office with white light for an instant. Margaret's hands trembled where they clutched the back of her chair. She opened her mouth as if to answer, but no words came. Instead, her gaze shifted toward the door, toward the hallway where faint footsteps creaked across the wood. The sound made Maya's heart leap. She pressed a finger to her lips, urging silence, her whole body stiff. Margaret froze, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The footsteps lingered, slow and deliberate, then drifted past. Margaret's jaw clenched. That was nothing, she whispered, but the doubt in her eyes betrayed her. She glanced toward the storm-tossed window and then back to Maya, her voice sharper, almost desperate. You're trying to turn me against him. You're twisting what you think you heard. Maya shook her head firmly, tears threatening to spill. I would never. I don't care if you hate me. I care if you're alive tomorrow. Downstairs, Buddy barked again, louder this time, claws scraping against the tile. The sound carried up through the stairwell like a warning neither woman wanted to face. Margaret's lips pressed thin, her pride still fighting, but for the first time her eyes flickered with something else, fear she could no longer push away. And still, the storm roared on, each gust of wind outside echoing the storm now building inside the mansion walls. Downstairs, Jacob poured himself a glass of bourbon as if it were any ordinary night. To the neighbors and friends who admired him, he was the perfect husband, charming, well-dressed, the man who always carried his wife's coat at galas and made her look untouchable. But upstairs, in the dim office, Maya and Margaret knew the mask was slipping. The charm was only a cover, and behind it lived something darker. His footsteps moved with calm confidence, a man who owned the house and everyone inside it. Then came the sound of his voice, soft and careful, drifting through the hallway. Margaret, are you awake? He knocked gently on the office door, his tone warm and full of concern. I brought you tea. Chamomile, your favorite. It will help you sleep. Margaret's lips parted. For a moment, the familiar comfort in his words nearly broke her resolve. She wanted to answer, to believe that it was only her husband being thoughtful. Maya shook her head sharply, eyes blazing, whispering, Don't say a word. The handle jiggled. Jacob's voice stayed calm, almost playful. Why is the door locked? You never lock it. Open up, darling. Let me in. Inside, Margaret trembled. The storm outside rattled the shutters as if echoing her heartbeat. Maya pressed herself against the door, her bitten hand throbbing, but her voice steady. He wants you to answer. That's how he'll get in. Please, stay silent. The footsteps lingered for a long moment, then moved away slowly, almost as if he wanted them to hear. Margaret sagged into her chair, covering her face with her hands. It sounded so normal, she whispered, her voice breaking. Tea. Just tea. But it didn't feel like love. Maya crouched beside her, her voice low but certain. That's because it wasn't love. It was a trap wrapped in kindness. Men like him never show the knife until it's pressed against you. Margaret's pride still fought to resist, but her hands shook as she gripped the armrests of her chair. Outside the office, Jacob's shadow flickered under the door, long and sharp like a blade. The mask of the perfect husband was cracking, and for the first time, Margaret could see the danger hidden behind the smile she had trusted for years. The storm outside shook the windows as Margaret paced across the office, arms folded tight. Her heels clicked sharply on the wood floor, each step a signal of her pride still holding on. But her face betrayed her, there was doubt now, thin cracks in the wall she had built around her trust in Jacob. She kept glancing toward the door, then at Maya, as if weighing which one was more dangerous. Maya stood near the desk, her bitten hand wrapped in her apron. She pulled out Margaret's phone from the charging cord and opened the recording app. The red button glowed faintly in the dark. If you won't believe me, Maya whispered, then believe his own words. Let him speak, and we'll capture it. Margaret's lips tightened, torn between fury and fear. "You want me to spy on my husband in my own home?" she asked, her voice sharp but shaky. "Do you hear how insane that sounds?" Maya held her ground. "What sounds insane is pretending it's not happening. You don't have to trust me. Just trust what you hear with your own ears." For a long moment, Margaret stared at her. The thunder cracked outside, rattling the chandelier. Downstairs, Buddy barked again, his voice urgent and raw. Margaret flinched, her eyes drifting toward the sound. "He never barks like that," she muttered, almost to herself. Maya stepped closer, her voice steady. "Even your dog knows. He's trying to warn you. Please, ma'am. Just tonight, stay silent. Let the truth show itself." Margaret's pride faltered. She sank slowly back into her chair, pressing a silk handkerchief against her lips to steady her breathing. She didn't look at Maya, but she gave the faintest nod. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it was a beginning. And in that tense, storm-lit office, two women from different worlds found themselves bound together by a fragile thread of survival. For the first time that night, Margaret wasn't completely alone, and Maya wasn't dismissed as just a maid. Margaret sat stiff in her chair, her fingers gripping the armrests like they were the only things holding her steady. The red glow of the phone recorder lit the desk between them, small but powerful. She glanced at it, then at Maya, her eyes sharp with fear. "Even if we record him, who will believe us? He has money, friends, influence. They'll laugh at me before they believe you." Maya shook her head firmly. "Not if we catch him in his own words. People can deny me, but they can't deny his voice." Her tone was calm, but her bitten hand trembled where she tried to hide it against her apron. Margaret's pride flared again. "You don't understand. He's built everything with me. He wouldn't throw it away." But her voice cracked as thunder boomed outside. For a moment, her strength sounded hollow. Maya's eyes softened. She stepped a little closer, but careful not to touch. "I've seen people do worse for less, ma'am. When greed and desperation take over, love doesn't stop them." Margaret turned away, staring out at the rain sliding down the glass. For the first time, her shoulders slumped, heavy with something more than anger, grief. "I gave him everything," she whispered. Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. She wanted to say she understood, that she too knew what it felt like to give everything and still be betrayed. But instead, she pointed at the phone. "Then let this be what saves you. We need proof. Only then will the world listen." Just then, Jacob's voice drifted faintly through the floorboards. His tone was low, almost casual, but every word sent a chill down Maya's spine. "She's tired. Everyone sees it. No one will question when it happens." Margaret's eyes went wide, her nails digging into the chair. The recorder captured every syllable, each one a thread tightening around Jacob's mask. Downstairs, Buddy barked again, a sharp and broken sound, followed by a whimper. Margaret covered her mouth, shaking. Maya crouched close, her voice steady but urgent. "This is it. We don't fight him with pride or anger. We fight him with silence and proof. Tonight, that's the only way we survive." Margaret looked down at her maid, her eyes wet but steady. For the first time, she didn't see a servant kneeling there. She saw the only ally she had left. The mansion had gone too quiet. The kind of quiet that felt heavy, as if the house itself was listening. Maya pressed her back against the office door, her bitten hand still wrapped in her apron, while Margaret sat near the desk, staring at the recorder as though it were the only lifeline she had. Every few seconds, the storm outside cracked against the shutters, but inside, the smallest creak of wood made both women stiffen. Then came Jacob's humming again, drifting through the stairwell. That tuneless sound made the hair on Margaret's arms rise. She whispered, almost to herself, "He sounds so normal." "That's what terrifies me." Maya didn't answer. She knew this wasn't a husband's humming, it was a hunter's. Margaret's chest rose and fell in quick bursts. She suddenly pushed up from her chair, pacing in circles. I can't sit here like a prisoner, she said, her voice trembling. This is my house. I refuse to hide from my own husband. Maya stepped in front of her path, her voice low but steady. That's what he wants, ma'am. For you to come out. He's waiting. If you open that door, it's over. Margaret's eyes burned with anger and fear. You don't understand what it feels like, knowing the person you trusted most wants you dead. Maya's jaw tightened, her voice hard but quiet. You're wrong. I do understand. I've lived betrayal. That's why I won't let it take you, too. Before Margaret could answer, the sound of the back staircase groaned, the one servants used. Jacob almost never took that path. The noise made both women freeze. Margaret's face drained of color. What is he doing? She whispered. Maya's mind raced. He's testing the house. Looking for another way. She pressed her ear against the door, then turned back, her voice urgent. We don't have time. We need help. Margaret's phone lay on the desk, its screen dark. Maya picked it up, her thumb hovering over the green button. We call 911, she said firmly. Margaret's eyes widened. If he hears us. Maya cut her off with a look. We whisper. Just enough. They'll trace it. The storm rattled the windows, covering their shallow breaths. Maya dialed, crouched low behind the desk, and whispered into the phone, This is Maya Williams, Hale residence. Husband intends to kill his wife. He's in the house. Margaret's hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide with terror, but she stayed silent this time. The operator's calm voice came through, Stay hidden. Stay quiet. Officers are on the way. Maya lowered the phone to her lap, leaving the line open. Margaret trembled, staring at her with a mix of dread and fragile hope. And in that small, storm-lit office, the silent battle had begun, not of fists or knives, but of waiting, listening, and holding on until help arrived. The storm outside howled as Jacob's footsteps grew louder on the stairs. Each step shook through the wood like a countdown, steady and certain. Inside the office, Maya pressed her back harder against the door, her whole body a barrier. Margaret stood frozen near the desk, clutching the phone to her chest, its screen still glowing faintly with the recording they had captured. Then came Jacob's voice, low and smooth, sliding through the crack in the door. Margaret, open up. Don't make this harder than it has to be. You're tired. Everyone knows. No one would question it. His tone was gentle, almost caring, but every word dripped like poison. Margaret shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. She wanted to scream, to answer, but Maya caught her arm, whispering, Stay silent. That's what keeps you alive. The handle rattled violently this time, harder than before. Jacob's voice sharpened, losing its mask. Open this damn door before I tear it down. He slammed his shoulder into the wood, and the bolt groaned in its frame. Margaret cried out before she could stop herself. Downstairs, the sound of boots echoed against the tile. A voice rang out, firm and commanding, New Orleans police. Step away from the door. But Jacob didn't stop. His rage only grew. She's lying. She's hysterical. Don't believe her, he roared, slamming the door again. Splinters cracked along the frame. Maya gritted her teeth, pressing her full weight against the wood. Stay back, ma'am, she hissed over her shoulder. If he gets in, crawl under the desk and don't stop recording. Margaret's hand shook violently as she crouched, the phone clutched like a weapon. Tears blurred her vision, but she kept the red light glowing, the proof ready. Another slam shook the door, harder this time, and for a moment it seemed it would give. Then came the sharp commands again, step away from the door now. Radios crackled. More boots thundered up the stairs. Jacob cursed loudly, his charm broken, his voice raw and ugly. For the first time, the mask he wore for the world had shattered completely. Inside the office, Maya kept her body against the door, her voice low but steady, hold on. Just a little longer. Margaret huddled beneath the desk, her breath shallow, the storm outside crashing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The house was no longer just a mansion. It had become a battlefield, one where silence, proof, and survival were their only weapons against the predator at the door.